Welcome to BC Talks. I'm Brandon Cody, the BC in BC Talks, and today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite non comic book related fandoms. That's right, Star Wars. Star Wars Celebration 2023 was held this past weekend, ended yesterday, over the pond in London, and there were a lot of announcements. I thought this was packed full of great stuff in related to Star Wars. There's been a lot of disappointing news about Star Wars lately. A lot of directors falling off of projects. A lot of just mediocre stuff. This past season of Mandalorian's been a little so-so for a lot of people. So this was greatly needed to kind of bolster the Star Wars fan base. I've seen a lot of people still saying that they're a bit so-so on the announcement. I liked it, but we're gonna recap it if, in just in case you haven't seen, and we're gonna go ahead and get into all of the goodness that happened and this past weekend and ended Monday. So we got the article over here. This is by IGN. They did a great recap of Star Wars Celebration. So there were a lot of great things announced. My personal favorites were, and we're going to get into them, that was the three directors announced for three movies. There was also a cameo in the Ahsoka trailer of a character that we have been waiting for a long, long time. I mean, if you've seen the thumbnail, you already know it's Grand Admiral Thrawn. And then also Star Wars Visions and Tales of the Jedi, and also, of course, the new Jedi Fallen Order game. Sorry. So back to the article. Here we go. So they started off, day one started off with a bang. Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm, announced three live action Star Wars movies that are going to be directed by Dave Filoni, James Mangold, and Charmin Obaid Chinoy. Now, if you are at all familiar with Star Wars, you already know Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni created the Clone Wars animated series. He also created the Rebels animated series. He is also the creator of The Mandalorian, which, even if you don't know Star Wars, you probably know The Mandalorian, or at the very least, Baby Yoda, Grogu from The Mandalorian. He was a craze back when The Mandalorian started season one, and so you probably at least know them. Those are all his creations. So he's added a lot to the Star Wars canon. Obviously, the Mandalorians in general was not created by him, but he created the show. He's contributed a lot to Star Wars, so I think that it is just obvious to give him a movie. Now, the only problem is Dave Filoni has never directed a feature length film before. He's done a lot of TV, a lot of animated series. He did The Mandalorian, he's done a few other things, but never a feature length film. So a lot of people are a little bit hesitant on that, but he directs and creates The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau, if you don't know who that is, he is a director, and also he was Happy in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the Iron Man movies. He's So you should know him from that. He's directed things like The Chef. He recently directed the Lion King live action remake. So he has a lot of experience in directing, and he directs or created The Mandalorian alongside Dave Filoni. So they work a lot together. So I don't think that it's that big of a deal. I think that Dave Filoni is probably, well, for one, uh, he's got a great crew around him, a lot of different people that he works with. But he works especially closely with Jon Favreau, and I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if Jon Favreau has a big hand in this movie, considering that it's Dave Filoni's first movie, or his directorial debut as far as feature films goes. So honestly, if we see Jon Favreau as an executive producer or with a producer credit on this new movie, that would not surprise me at all, because they already work together. They're good friends. They have a lot of chemistry together, so they're probably going to work on this together. It's probably not just going to be Dave Filoni, although Dave Filoni is probably going to do the majority of the work. So that's one movie. Dave Filoni's film, according to him at Star Wars Celebration. He said it's going to focus on the New Republic. So basically, Dave Filoni's film is going to be a lot of the stuff he created in the New Republic, or at least post New Republic, stuff like the Mandalorian, stuff like Ahsoka, stuff like the Bat, or all of that stuff, Rebels. Um, so if you're not a fan, there's a contingent within the Star Wars fan base that's not the biggest fan of how Dave Filoni likes to lean so much on the characters he created. Characters like Ahsoka, for example. I love Ahsoka. Personally, I think she's a great character. She went through a great arc through the Clone Wars and Rebels series. So I don't have a problem with Ahsoka, but there are a lot of people that kind of bash on Dave Filoni for that. But he created the character, so what do you expect him to do? He knows them. They're the characters he knows the best. So obviously he's gonna kind of use them the most. He created them, and they're kind of his babies. He kind of raised them. So I'm, but if you're not a fan of the Dave Filoni, the Filoni verse, as a lot of Star Wars fans call it, you're probably not gonna like this next 7 to 10 years of Star Wars because he's doing a movie. I think they're leaning, according to Kathleen Kennedy, they're gonna be moving a lot in that direction for a lot of projects. So if you're not a fan of Dave Filoni, sorry about it. I am, but I know there are some Star Wars fans that are not. The second director that was announced is James Mangold. Uh, Now, if you are not familiar with James Mangold, he's probably the most experienced of the three. He's directed a lot of films. He most recently directed Ford v Ferrari. He also directed the great and critically acclaimed X-Men movie Logan, which was amazing. If you haven't seen Logan, go watch it. I think it's on streaming somewhere. Might be on HBO Max, I'm not sure, but watch it if you haven't. If you're a fan at all of the X-Men series, it's probably the best of all of those Fox-related X-Men movies, to be honest. Really great deconstruction of the character of Wolverine. And he is also, James Mangold is also, most recently, he is directing the new Indiana Jones movie that's coming out here soon. So we are going to get a fresh taste of him soon. He was given a Star Wars movie, and I mean that makes a lot of sense because Lucasfilm is closely, Lucasfilm is doing the Indiana Jones movie, so they actually showed a new trailer of the Indiana Jones movie at Star Wars Celebration. We're not going to be talking about that because this video is more Star Wars related, but they did show a trailer there. And coming down here to the article, now the other director is Charmin Obaid Chinoy, who is an Academy Award winning and Emmy Award winning director. She's directed short films, she's directed documentaries, and also 2 episodes of sorry, not the Mandalorian, 2 episodes of the Miss Marvel Disney Plus series. Most recently, she's going to be doing a film that is set after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, the most recent episode 9 movie in the Star Wars franchise. And it's going to be featuring Daisy Ridley back as Rey as she looks to build a new Jedi Order. So that's interesting. If we come down here, Daisy Ridley was very excited to come back to the Star Wars universe. Daisy Ridley, well, as a response to the underwhelming narrative of the past trilogy of Star Wars movies, Daisy really gets a lot of hate amongst the Star Wars fan base. I like the concept of her character. I think the execution left a little bit of room for improvement, but the concept of her character is really good, and I think that with the right direction and the right narrative, the right script and story, I think that you could really explore that character a lot. And so Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, she's got a lot of experience with not directing. Again, she's another one that hasn't directed a feature film before, but she's directed a lot of short films, a lot of documentaries. She kind of focuses on the stories of women a lot. So I think that with that experience, she can really do a great character piece on Rey Skywalker. So That's going to be interesting. I think a lot of people are probably going to be a little bit hesitant about that. Her movie as well. But Daisy really was excited, obviously. Anybody's going to be excited to come back to a big franchise. And Kathleen Kennedy said that there are some more films the films are in development. She said as a quote, we're pretty far along. These are things you can imagine are certainly looking, as you can imagine, certainly looking at what Dave Filoni has been doing with Ahsoka. That'll be at least 6, 7 years building to what we're going to be doing in a movie. So Kathleen Kennedy basically confirmed that they're going to be building up all of the Dave Filoni verse into a movie, which is probably going to be the movie he's directing. Now, this was another really big announcement. They showed, and I click on it here, a timeline. Oh my goodness, a timeline, a through line, an actual, thought process at least. There was a lot of Star Wars fans kind of were down on the past trilogy because there wasn't any through line. There didn't seem to be any sort of cohesiveness amongst the three movies. No direction. At least for all of what you can say about the prequels, at least there was a solid direction that they were trying to go, through the three movies. They had different directors for the three movies. Every director had their own vision for what they wanted the movies to be. They were not connected story-wise at all. Each director had to drop some stuff from the other one, pick up stuff from the other one. So to see this timeline is very exciting because it shows that they are at least going to have some sort of plan. And now, so you can see the timeline here. This is they are going to be focusing in eras. Now, if you're a Star Wars fan, you already know basically the eras, but they kind of put it into writing, or I guess pictures, if you will. So it's going to be the Dawn of the Jedi, the Old Republic, the High Republic, the Fall of the Jedi, the Reign of the Empire, the Age of Rebellion, the New Republic, which is the most the Rise of the First Order, and then the New Jedi Order. So they kind of, it's not, and honestly, to be honest, this is better than a slate like how the Marvel Cinematic Universe does to me. Because a slate, how they do it, how they kind of have the pictures of all the movies with dates, and they do explanations of the movies. Slates, they kind of tie you down. And if something happens, like with an actor or a director, or you want to go in a new direction with the scripts or the story, if you want to kind of pivot or make a change, your fan base who's been excited for the slate of movies you've announced in the past, they're gonna get all riled up and crazy, and the Star Wars fan base is already crazy. So we don't need any more craziness by announcing a slate. So I think that a timeline is better than a slate because they're not beholden to the set projects that they announced. So this was very exciting to me. There's a lot they can do with this, and one of those things that they can do is that they talked about, and I believe it's further down in the article, but I'm going to talk about it now. They talked about, or no, it's right here. They talked about broadening the timeline, according to Kathleen Kennedy. And so basically, they are going to be playing around. I think it is actually later in the article. They said they're going to be playing around in the Old Republic. Now, the Old Republic is probably one of the most sought after eras to touch in the Star Wars fan base for a while now. Um, if you're not familiar with the Old Republic, that is that period. Now, if you have played Knights of the Old Republic, you know the Old Republic era. That was an amazing game. If you're a Star Wars fan at all and you haven't played Knights of the Old Republic, it's an old game from 2003. So if you hold it up to games now, the play style and the graphics don't hold up as now. Although it is kind of more of a turn based, not really turn based, but the mechanics of the game I think still hold up. The graphics might not, but because it's from 2003, obviously. But it's a great game. Oh my gosh, the story, the narrative, the characters, the world building, just everything in that game is amazing. And there's 3 different ways you can play. It's one of the first games since The Last of Us that the story gripped me so much like it did. When I first played it, I think it was in like 2017 or 2018. I sat down, I played the whole thing in one sitting. That's how good it is. It's not that long of a game, but still, for me to play a game in one sitting is kind of wild because I do not do that. I still haven't finished Fallen Order. I need to finish that before the new game comes out. But yeah, so that's exciting. The timeline's exciting. And Dave Filoni's talking about his movie now. Speaking of Dave Filoni, Ahsoka got a new trailer. And they even teased the season 2, even though the first season hasn't come out yet. But Ahsoka got a new trailer, and it got a release date. It's coming out August 2023. And Rosario Dawson said, if this does well, maybe we'll get a second season. Well, duh. But I think they are going to get a second season regardless of whether or not it does well. But the trailer, oh my goodness, this trailer was amazing. One of the best Star Wars teasers we've got in a while. There was rebel characters like Hera, who was being played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. We had Sabine Wren, who was being played by Natasha Bordizio. There was also Chopper, Mon Mothma was in the trailer, and the big granddaddy of them all, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Yes, we have been waiting for Grand Admiral Thrawn in live action for a long, long time. If you're not familiar with Grand Admiral Thrawn, he was a character created in a series of novels by Timothy Zahn. And this was a while ago in the Star Wars Legends days. And so Timothy Zahn created Grand Admiral Thrawn. He is an amazing villain, one of the more well-rounded and well-crafted villains, I'd say, since since Anakin's transition into Darth Vader in the prequels. I was gonna say Darth Vader in general, but that's going back a little far. But anyway, so Thrawn is coming to live action. Thrawn was in the animated series Rebels. He featured in that, but he's not been in a live action movie. And so, well, I guess this isn't a movie. He hasn't been in live action because Ahsoka is a Disney Plus streaming series. But we've been waiting for Grand Admiral Thrawn in live action for a while. He's going to be played by Lars Mikkelsen, who is an amazing actor. So I think he's going to portray Grand Admiral Thrawn very well. Apparently, at Star Wars Celebration, they got to see a trailer with a little bit more of him. But the trailer that was released to the general public, just showed the back of him, with his blue skin. That's him right there. He's got blue skin. You don't know who he is. Really great character. I suggest you read those novels or watch the Rebel series to get a taste of his character. I think they're gonna do a really great job. That's gonna be very exciting. They were talking to the Ahsoka actors did a lot of chatting about their experience filming the series. Now, this is another big one. Andor season 2 is aiming for an August 2024 premiere date. So the series creator Tony Gilroy said, "We started shooting in November. We're about halfway through. We're going to shoot through August. We're on the exact schedule. Finish in August. Spend another year on post. I suppose we'll be coming out the following August. So probably quarter 4 of 2024. If I had to guess, they might push it back a month if things happen. But they're shooting for August 2024 right now." For Andor. Andor is another great series. If you haven't watched it, I haven't finished it. I need to finish it still. You're gonna see there's a through line here. There's a lot of stuff I need to finish, but Andor is a great series though. Now, The Acolyte, that's another series that's coming out. The series creator, Leslie Headland, said that she pitched it as Frozen meets Kill Bill. So that's interesting. She said, I don't know exactly what that means. I think she goes into a little bit more detail down at the bottom. She said, "What I pitched to Kathleen Kennedy was Frozen meets Kill Bill. Shockingly, she didn't kick me out of the building. It's High Republic near the beginning of the prequels and an exciting part of the timeline. This is when the bad guys are outnumbered. They are the underdogs. I'm really excited for you guys to see things you haven't seen in live action yet. So that's interesting. They showed a logo of the series. And let's see here. Here we go. She broke down which part is Frozen, which part is Kill Bill. So she said so much of it was about the sister relationships. This was in talking about Frozen. So much of it was about the villain actually being a powerful, misunderstood woman. There was just so much of it that I couldn't believe I was watching. I couldn't believe that it was a cartoon with music. It was hitting me on such a deep level and yet servicing the genre so well. Now, I don't know if Leslie Hyland has watched a lot of Disney or Pixar movies, but they are all, well, not Pixar so much, but the Disney ones are all cartoons with music, and a lot of them, most of them, have pretty great narratives that hit you. But I guess maybe she doesn't watch a lot of Disney. Because Frozen, I guess, was the first one, or maybe not the first one, but I guess it just hit her different. It hit different. But as for Kill Bill, I think it's a really good reference for the modern day martial arts film. Obviously, Tarantino took inspiration from a lot of the movies that our action team and a lot of our design team pulled from, which is stuff from the Shaw Brothers to Akira Kurosawa and in his samurai films, but also films like Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So I don't know about the Frozen part. I guess the Frozen part of it is more the narrative, the exploitation of the villains, stuff like that. And then the Kill Bill part is going to be the martial arts uh, aspect to it. So this is going to be interesting. I'm interested to see. I was already pretty interested in the Acolyte series, but I think that hearing this, hopefully there's not music because I do not like musicals. I don't mind music in shows, I guess, but I guess so. I guess it would be a musical, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. Is there going to be music in Star? They're going to be jumping up, singing songs in Star Wars High School Musical. We'll see what that's going to be about. Skeleton Crew got a first reveal. They showed a trailer at of Skeleton Crew, which stars Jude Law at Star Wars Celebration to the audience there. No trailer's been released officially now, unless they released one today. I didn't see it. Um, but they said that it is focusing on a younger cast of characters. A lot of people said that it had Goonies vibes, which is interesting. So I guess it's gonna be kind of more of a not a kiddie show, but it's gonna be more focused on kids. And they also confirmed the directors. There's gonna be John Watts, David Lowery. This is an interesting one. The Daniels, who are the two Daniels that created the Everything Everywhere All at Once, which won billion awards, including sweeping the Oscars pretty much this past year. It's a really great movie. If you haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, I would highly suggest you go find it and watch it because it is amazing. But that's interesting because they said it has Goonies vibes, and there's going to be, it's kind of a, well, I guess Goonies inspiration. They said kids going to class through a residential area, kids running through a forest, and much, much more. If you watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, you know that that is not kid vibes at all. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Daniels bring to this series. Also, Bryce Dallas Howard, who's directed a lot of the best Mandalorian episodes, and Lee Isaac Chung. That's Skeleton Crew. This is one that I'm excited for. Tales of the Jedi is getting a second season. Now, if you didn't watch Tales of the Jedi, it was a series that came out on Disney Plus. It was a lot of fun. It kind of went through. They showed the birth of Ahsoka. They kind of went through her story a little bit, but it also focused a lot on Count Dooku and his kind of descent, his crisis of faith, if you will, and his descent from the light into the dark side. How he kind of moved it and the progression towards the dark side. It wasn't kind of like mustache twirling, stereotypical villain. That's kind of how he's portrayed in the prequels. But there was a lot of depth to Tales of the Jedi that I was surprised. I was very surprised to see. The Count Dooku stuff was very nuanced. The narrative was very interesting. It was very interesting to see his progression towards the dark side, based on the different because he was trying to. Well, I won't spoil it for you guys, but yeah, the progression towards the dark side was very interesting. So Tales of the Jedi was a surprise for me. I thought it was going to be okay, but it ended up being one of my favorite projects of that year from Star Wars. So this is interesting. to see that this getting a second season. I'm interested to see what Dave Filoni is going to do with it, but it was a very good series. The Bad Batch, which is another show that I haven't finished, is getting a third and final season. So this is gonna be the last season. This past season, which I haven't watched, I watched the first season and it was kind of so-so to me, so I didn't pick up the second season. But apparently, the second season is really, really good, according to a lot of people online. And it's getting so people are really excited for the third season, and it's going to be the last season, which is kind of saddened a lot of people to hear. But also, Fennec Shand, who's played by Ming Na Wen, the bounty hunter in that series, in the Mandalorian series, is going to be showing up in the Bad Batch. So that's interesting. Kind of more of Dave Filoni tying all these through lines together of his little Filoni verse. So again, if you're not a fan of the Filoni verse, you're not gonna like the next decade of Star Wars. Now, this is a big, big, big one that I am very, very excited for. Star Wars Visions Volume Two. Sorry, they dropped the trailer for which came out towards the the whole general public. Now, if you're not familiar with Star Wars Visions, it was a very cool concept that they for a series that they made. It was basically an anthology series, a bunch of different non-related um, shorts, if you will, that were created by different animation studios. So a lot of them were kind of anime related. There were some anime related ones. There was, I think, there was a black and white one, if I remember correctly. So all different kind of animation styles. It was very interesting, and the stories were great. So I'm very excited for this one. And they announced the studios that are going to be working on these, and those are going to be, let me see here, that's going to be uh El Guri Cartoon Saloon, Punk Robots. The biggest one is Ardan, which is the or Erdan, I'm not sure exactly sure how you pronounce it, but they are the studio that created things like obviously the biggest ones, Wallace and Gromit. They also made Chicken Run. They made Flushed Away. So a lot of that stop motion, basically any really popular Shaun of the Sheep, any popular stop motion esque claymation, I guess not really stop motion, claymation, sorry, series that you've seen. They're the British studio that created those. So it's gonna be interesting. They showed a little bit of it in the trailer, the claymation. So claymation in Star Wars, I'm here for that. Wallace and Gromit Star Wars, let's go. And there it is, yeah, claymation. There was hand drawn. There was I wonder there was also a one of the shorts in the trailer that they showed looked a lot like the Sony Into the Spider-Verse animation. So that was interesting. It's coming out May 4th, which is like in less than a month. So that's probably the most recent thing coming, and I'm very, very excited to see all of the different animation styles in that series. Kathleen Kennedy said that the Lando Calrissian series, which they've been talking about for a while, bringing back Donald Glover, who you probably know as Childish Gambino. He played Lando in the Solo movie. They wanted to make a series about him, but the Solo movie was a little bit underwhelming financially and also critically. But they are going to be still working on it. Kathleen Kennedy said, "I can just tell you, it's still happening." He's still very excited about it. Basically confirming that Donald Glover is still on board. So we'll see how that goes. Taika Waititi, this was one that was a little bit uh, had a little bit of contention within the Star Wars fan base. Taika Waititi it was announced that he was going to be making a Star Wars film. Apparently, it hasn't been scrapped. He's still working on it. Kathleen Kennedy said that Taika is still working away on the film, and it's just taking a while because he doesn't want anyone else helping him with the script. That's kind of concerning because I honestly think Taika Waititi should have some more collaborators. Um, because even though he has a very unique style, he kind of got a little bit too much into his style with the past movie that he directed, Thor: Love and Thunder. It was very divisive amongst the MCU, the Marvel fan base. There was a lot of people that thought it was underwhelming. I thought it was a little bit underwhelming as well. I think that he could have expanded more on Gore the God Butcher. There was a lot of interesting things you could do with that character, and he didn't. For a guy called Gore the God Butcher, he didn't butcher a lot of gods, at least not on screen. They showed a lot of dead ones, but they didn't show him butchering them. So it's more like Gore the guy who leaves gods butchered. And he's not actively butchering them. But anyway, going back to Star Wars, Taika Waititi, if this film doesn't hit, he's gonna be in a little bit of trouble. So hopefully he decides to let some people collaborate with him on that, because I think him just doing his own thing right now. If he gets too much into it, I love Taika Waititi's style and the voice that he brings to movies, but it can be a bit much if he leans too much into it. So hopefully he gets some second eyes on that script. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, again, as I said before, the Fallen Jedi is a game I did not finish. I'm planning on finishing that before Jedi Survivor comes out later in the year. Well, not later in the year; it's coming up soon, actually. But that got a trailer. If you've seen, we've seen trailers before. This game, you can't hype me up more for this game, even though I haven't finished the first one. But it's a really great game. Cal Kestis needs to be brought into live action, and I think he probably will sooner rather than later. But the game's coming out soon. It's got they're going to a big thing was Coruscant. They're gonna it's not a fully explorable open world area, which makes sense because there are trillions of people on Coruscant. So to render that, the amount of space that would take on your computer would melt your entire computer or PlayStation as well as your house down. So they're not gonna have the whole of Coruscant be fully open world, but it's going to be it's going to be featured in the game and explorable, just not fully open world, which makes sense because again, Coruscant, trillions of people, way too much gigabytes and GPU space for your computer. So coming down here, the Mandalorian season 3 got a tease, and actually I'm gonna scroll past that because if you don't want any spoilers about the Mandalorian, like me, then we're gonna go ahead and scroll past that. But the Mandalorian is not Din Djarin. Sorry, is not the only Mandalorian. That's something that if you've been watching the series is pretty apparent. It's also about Bo-Katan, played by sorry, Bo-Katan, and so yeah, that was pretty obvious. We kind of already knew that if you're a Star Wars fan. Um, Ewan McGregor wants Obi-Wan season 2, but Kathleen Kennedy said that's not in active development. But I never say never because there's always a possibility. That show was so well received, was it? And director Deborah Chow did such a spectacular job, did she? No, I'm just kidding. The direction of the series was fine. It was just the execution of the series was a little bit meh. I mean, Ewan McGregor as always as Obi-Wan, I always want more of. He's amazing as Obi-Wan. But and the big fight at the end, spoiler, with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan was great, even though it kind of is a plot hole because Darth Vader said he hadn't seen Obi-Wan in the original series when they met when he was old. He said he hadn't seen him in a while. So that's kind of a plot hole, but it is what it is. Let's see. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen took the stage. They talked about the prequels, a lot of talking about different things. Here's one that a lot of Star Wars fans are going to rejoice about. Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy is not in active development. Now, me personally, I'm obviously there's some contention in the Star Wars fan base about Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy. I am so on it. I see what he was trying to do with The Last Jedi, and I think the concept was interesting. It was more the execution of that concept that kind of fell a little bit flat. But I'm not as down on The Last Jedi as a lot of people in the Star Wars fan base are. And so I would love to see him come back and do something. The Knives Out movies, which he directed, that series is amazing. I think it's very, very well directed. The concept is great. So if Rian Johnson wanted to come back and, he was rumored to be doing a new Star Wars trilogy. But if he wanted to come back and do a movie, I think that a one-shot movie, not to make it like Knives Out, but something in that vein would be very interesting to see because that seems to be kind of his wheelhouse now. He also has a TV series which I haven't watched that is kind of mystery esque as well. I forget what it's called, but it's kind of in that same vein as Knives Out, and it has been hearing some good things about it. I haven't watched it yet, but Yeah, so Ryan Johnson is not making the Star Wars trilogy as of now, anyway, according to Kathleen Kennedy. And then, of course, they showed the Indiana Jones trailer. We talked about the Bad Batch stuff. And then finally, Star Wars Celebration 2025 is going to be in Japan. So even farther, well, I guess it depends on where you live. But I guess if you're in Japan, congratulations. But it is going to be in Japan from April 18th to April 20th of 2025. Star Wars Celebration 2025. So a lot of interesting, uh, a lot of interesting announcements. The biggest ones for me were again Grand Admiral Thrawn in the Ahsoka series. That's going to be amazing, and kind of expanding him into the Filoni verse. Also, the three directors announced: James Mangold, Dave Filoni, and Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy for the three new Star Wars movies. That's a huge one. The Tales of the Jedi and Star Wars Visions, which Star Wars Visions is coming out really soon, so I'm very excited for that. The concept of that is amazing. Tales of the Jedi was a sleeper hit for me. So those are the ones I'm most excited about. But let me know down in the comments below what you're most excited about. To let me know what you're looking forward to coming up here in this quote unquote slate of new Star Wars. Let me know what you think about that timeline. That's another exciting thing. If you had things you weren't so excited about, also let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Again, this is Brandon Cody of BC Talks, and I will see y'all another day.